I'll be fine. God, you're more laid back than I am. What the fuck? If you have the new keyboard, please download and install. Alrighty. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I appreciate you all joining me for BirdDog live session number 8. I should put like a little counter over here in the corner. That would be cool, don't you think? Anyway, we've got a cool show for you today. I am going to bring Dan on, and he's going to has some really cool things. But as always, because this is an international show, I mean, quite literally, it's going to be an international show today. Welcome everyone to today's show. I'd love to know where everybody is watching from, and because this is a live interactive show, hey, tell me what is your favorite BirdDog product? I think that would be pretty cool to know. Throw that in the comments, and then before we get started, just a reminder. You can scan and win a Miall BirdDog Connect subscription, and had a comment already that they're watching on a phone, so they can't scan the code that they're watching on the phone. But you could just remember, put this in your mind, bit.ly, bit.ly/BD entry for BirdDog entry. So bit.ly BirdDog entry. That's what you can do, and then you can open that in another tab. I don't have the ability to put that into the comments myself because I'm running the show. But this is open to everyone around the world because this is software. You could utilize this anywhere, and we will have a show talking about BirdDog Connect, and I'm trying to convince BirdDog to do a BirdDog Connect between Australia and the studio here in Texas, and I think that would be really cool. A great demonstration of the Connect capabilities. We'll see how we can put that together because Connect is a pretty big thing. It's not just one little thing. It's pretty big. But hey, let's get right to the news. If you have a BirdDog keyboard, please download and install the keyboard firmware 6.1.557. This one is a major update, and of course that's going to crash just right there. I'm going to reboot this. I'm going to try and reboot this. That's not going to let me. Interesting. So there it goes. There's a major update for the BirdDog keyboard that introduces some new software capabilities as well as, obviously, always some bug fixes. Can I get this to roll? It's interesting. I set these things up long in advance, so by the time I actually do the show, the software says, I'm tired of waiting for you. Literally. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. It's just gone. So I'm going to quit that. And I'm going to relaunch it. This is what live shows are all about. Things happen in live shows. We adapt. We move on. We try again. We let it reinitialize. And then hopefully I can now do this for you. So if you do have the new BirdDog keyboard, download and install the keyboard firmware. It's just totally ignoring me. This is a major update featuring several bug fixes, improvements, new features, including a zoom rocker calibration, updated access manager layout, and optimized telemetry. Now, after BirdDog's award-winning success at NAB with our recently announced products like the keyboard, MAKI Live Camera, MAKI Studio Control Surface and software, BirdDog Connect, and the award-winning X Series cameras, BirdDog will continue exhibiting around the world. The next places where you can see our latest products are the Media Technology and Production Expo in London on May 14th and 15th at the Olympia Grand Hall with BirdDog's partner in the region, Holden, at stand G60. Next up is CABSAT, is the largest broadcast digital media and satellite expo in the Middle East and Africa. It will be held in Dubai from May 13th through the 15th with our partner MEA MediaCast at stand ARG20. And lastly, BirdDog has teamed up with Comline France, a leading value-added distributor, to expand BirdDog's presence in the French market. Comline France will distribute BirdDog's full camera lineup, including MAKI Live, the X-Series PTZs, and the MAKI Studio Production Suite. This collaboration was kicked off at Comline's March face-to-face 2025 event in Paris with BirdDog products on display for in-person hands-on exploration. Now let's talk some products. I know a lot of people are interested in MAKI Live. This is BirdDog's compact, all-in-one camera built for creators, streamers, educators, and agile teams who need broadcast quality video without bulk or complexity. It's not just another portable camera. It's a professional grade storytelling tool ready to go live from anywhere. MAKI Live brings BirdDog's broadcast DNA into the hands of everyday content creators, remote teams, hybrid educators, and corporate communication pros, giving them a tool that's powerful, smart, and very simple. It features professional power in a go-anywhere form. It's compact and ready to go. It delivers 4K NDI HX3. It has a 3x optical zoom. It has an HDMI out, USB-C, and there's also Wi-Fi streaming in this palm-sized package. You can go live via Wi-Fi. You can use it as a webcam via USB-C. You can go direct via NDI or SRT, and this gives you built-in streaming from anywhere. It also has AI-powered gesture zoom control that gives you hands-free framing, leveraging then that 3x optical zoom control with intuitive gesture recognition, which is ideal for solo streamers like me, teachers, and presenters. The 6 to 8 hour battery life plus flexible mounting options enables you to shoot for a long time on a single charge, mounted anywhere, on a tripod, a desk, or wall, even inside or outside a car. With the 4 levels of connectivity, NDI, HDMI, USB-C, or Wi-Fi, that enables you to plug into any kind of workflow. You can even extend connectivity with a USB-C to Ethernet dongle. Now, another announcement that started a lot of discussion is MAKI Studio. MAKI Studio is your portable production studio in a box. You just need an iPad and the BirdDog Control Surface. Studio is the perfect companion to MAKI Live cameras in a multi-camera live switch production. It's designed to let you control, switch, and stream a multi-camera setup from virtually anywhere. It's basically a control hub that brings pro-level storytelling to creators, educators, remote presenters, and mobile production teams without requiring a truck, racks, or a crew. It can work with other NDI or SRT cameras, but it's a perfect fit for MAKI Live. It makes multicam streaming accessible, compact, and wireless for people who want the look of a pro broadcast, but the freedom of a remote-first workflow. The MAKI Studio is the answer. MAKI Studio is your portable control room to easily control, switch, and monitor multiple cameras via Wi-Fi, giving you live production via native NDI HX3 and the BirdDog ecosystem, delivering low latency, automatic discovery, and a seamless IP workflow. The MAKI Studio enables you to easily manage multiple sources in real time, and again, it's perfect for streamers, educators, churches, or even event teams. It also has built-in streaming tools to go live to YouTube, Facebook, or custom RTMP with no PC required. The user interface and auto configuration features make it easy for anyone to use with no video engineering degree needed. Although I've been doing this for 20 years and I don't have a degree yet. MAKI Studio is lightweight and compact. You can pair it with MAKI Live for a complete 2 to 3 camera mobile rig with full pro control, including everything you need from graphics to play out videos, audio mixing, images, and more. And MAKI Studio is part of the BirdDog ecosystem, meaning it works seamlessly with other BirdDog gear. You can scale from creator to corporate with ease. And it works with any NDI source you want to add, even non-NDI BirdDog, even non-BirdDog sources. Now, you need both an iPad, which is not included, and the BirdDog control surface to make it work. Once you have the control surface, you download the app and then you're good to go. I mean, there's so much to cover. I think I need some help. And there's no one better for this than BirdDog's own CEO, Dan, and I still don't know how to say this, right? Miall. I'll just let you do it and bring Dan on right now.
Hey, Anthony, it's Dan Miall. It's actually a whole lot easier to say. It's just the distance. So
many, well, you know, I'll be Anthony Kilometer if you be Dan Miall.
Done, right?
So anyway, first thing that I wanted to cover is with these new BirdDog, with these new MAKI Lives, there's actually bundles that are available.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have the so MAKI Live. I'm really very excited about. It's something we've been working on for a long time. Is how do we get the quality that we want out of these cameras into a package that's so small? And now with these bundles, the bundle, I don't actually have one here, but the box that it comes in is only this big, and it holds 3 of these cameras in there, plus some room for your cables and chargers and things as well. And it's great because it gives you some extra value. It means that you can, if you buy 3, then it's actually even greater value than buying the camera by itself. But for us, we sort of see that most people, when they're doing a live production, you want to have a couple of different camera angles to get some context and be able to cut between conversations as well. So it's a great little kit to fly away with wherever you need to do your production, whether that's either in your studio or whether it's remote anywhere in the world.
So I have this image of the little live cameras and the studio. Is there going to be a camera and studio bundle?
There actually is as well. So that little the case that you see on the bottom right-hand side there is basically 3 cameras ready to go. But you can see just to the left of that, we actually have a bundle that includes the control surface and 3 cameras. Just a little disclaimer, there should be a little asterisk there. We don't give you an iPad in that bundle. It's BYO iPad. But it's a great little kit that's ready to go. It gives you everything for multiple camera productions, plus MAKI Studio, which I believe we're going to go into in a bit more depth in the next show. But MAKI Studio is it's a live streaming package that works on an iPad, but it's got a control surface. I've got one here, which means that it's really fast and really intuitive to use, and it's designed for doing proper live productions rather than having to touch around on your screen and sort of fuss about. It gives you a control surface so you can instantly cut to a source that you need, or you can instantly add an overlay, and you can tactile do that without actually having to look down sometimes as well, which can be great if you're a solo streamer.
I mean, that is actually very key. As someone who has used iPad-based solutions for many years, I find that while it's good to have a touch screen, the problem is you have to keep looking at it, which takes your attention away from what's going on, especially if you're doing sports. Whereas if having the ability to keep your fingers on a control surface, it's like so many people who use laptops and computers and stuff will add a control surface so that they can just
go
touch their fingers
straight into something. Yeah.
Exactly. So starting with the control surface and then leveraging that with the app, I think is a great way to do it. This way, people don't have to then think about, oh, I've been using this for a while. I wish I had a control surface. You're starting with the control surface.
Absolutely. And I'm looking at the comments here, and I don't want to sort of cut to, because I know we have Q&A at the end, but there's a good question here, which I just want to talk to, which is from Golden Tea, actually, is why lock it down to an iPad? I see you've got a couple of questions there, but the iPad, the concept of that really is that firstly it's portable. The MAKI Studio is MAKI Studio and MAKI Lives are designed to be portable. You can take them in your backpack for wherever you want to go. It's Wi-Fi first. Everything just works straight out of the box in a really small package. So an iPad makes a whole lot of sense. If you then look into education spaces, a lot of schools and education facilities also have the ability to get iPads on lease or very easily. And the third piece is that an iPad these days has got the same processor in there you get in what I've got here in my MacBook Air. So there's a lot of power in there. A happy little extra thing is that we're not locking it down to be only iPad. We recommend it. It's built primarily for iPad, but I do have it running here on my MacBook Air as well. You can install it on a MacBook if you want to for MAKI Studio. So continue on. I don't want to go to Q&A, but I think it's probably a fairly good point that there's a reason for the iPad, but we're not locking you down. If you want to use it on a MacBook, you can, of course. So.
Okay, well, we're sort of getting ahead of ourselves in terms of talking about the studio before we've even talked about the camera.
That's right.
So I think one of the key things that people have been asking me since NAB, do you have the MAKI, the full-size MAKI or the Ultra there that you could actually hold them side by side so people can compare the sizes?
I do. I'm going to have to get up from my chair, but I'll go and grab one. 2 seconds.
That's okay. That's okay. So anyway, we can say hello to a couple of people that have joined in. Wilton in Puerto Rico has joined us. And let's see, Golden TV is in Sacramento, California. And who else is up here? And Randy is saying hello from Winnipeg, watching from his phone. And so he was asking about the QR codes. So yes, let me give you the full screen here, and so you can really show this off.
Okie dokie. So what I've got here is the MAKI Studio, which is actually quite a small box camera, and this thing's fantastic for putting in band rooms, or if you've got a locked off shot in any kind of production sense, whether it's corporate or whether it's any kind of studio. And it's got a bunch of connectors on the back, as you can see. But what we wanted to do is make something that's a whole lot more portable. And so when you look at the MAKI, it doesn't actually do it justice just here, but the MAKI Live it's less than half of the volume of the MAKI Studio, MAKI Ultra, I should say. So if you have a look here, it's almost half the size in every dimension, and that includes the battery as well. So this guy's got and we'll get to all the features, but it's got a battery that runs for 6 or even 8 hours, depending on how you use it. It's just a much smaller device to work with. It's got a few different features, so we'll go through and talk about those. But certainly, if you need to have a small location, or if you've got something you need to hide away, the MAKI Live is definitely a much smaller device.
A question came in. Do we know if the MAKI cams actually work on all those protocols, or will it be available later in a firmware update?
All right, Golden T, I've seen a number of questions come through about firmware updates and things like that. I understand that I've seen that you've had a few different BirdDog products in the past. BirdDog 2.0 we've spoken about a few times on this show, and I won't dwell on that. But when we announce a product these days, it does what it says in every respect. It's not about what it's capable of with firmware updates or what it might be able to do in the future. We needed to do that at the very beginning when NDI was brand new. But these days, BirdDog's at 2.0 and our products are next generation. So everything you see on the website, all of the functions are in the camera, ready to go. Have we got some secrets up our sleeve? Absolutely. But yeah.
Right, and I think that's something that people might have missed in that there was a whole year where OEMs were changing and things like that, and you heard the people who were saying don't announce something and then have us make plans on it and design a building around it and then have it not ship. Don't announce something until it's ready. So I think people. It'll take some time before people realize that, when you put out the web page, this is what it's going to arrive with. And like you said, there may be something else down the road but we're not going to mention it until
there most
it's there.
Definitely is, but who says you can't teach old dogs new tricks, eh? So.
Oh, man. Let's see. Here's a good question. Are there any virtual PTZ features?
So I guess this falls into the latter category there. So what we've announced is it actually it's got zoom on the camera, and I guess we'll get into the specs a little bit later on. But with the MAKI Live, one of the really unique things with this guy is it's actually got a zoom lens built in there. if you look at any other box camera or sort of battery-powered small camera, they're all fixed lenses. So this actually does have an optical zoom. Sure, it's only a 3x zoom, but it allows you to frame up your shot, and then you have access to digital zoom beyond that, which gives you a practical zoom range of about 10 times, rather than normally you only get about 3 times with digital before it starts to see any kind of graininess and things. Right now it is a Z camera. It is zoom only. We don't have PTZ or ePTZ functions in there right at the moment.
And that is what's on the website.
That is what's on the website, yes.
That is on the website. So, I see a lot of companies, not a lot, many companies these days will release a product and then continue to update and refine it and things like that. But I always tell people, buy something based by what's printed on the box, so to speak. It's like, does this meet your needs? Then you buy it. Don't buy something saying, well, maybe down the future, what they're going to do is, I think it's very important to buy something based on, does this meet your needs today? And it is, you're not going to find another optical zoom tiny camera like this. It's like a unique space in the market. There's tiny little cameras with batteries that don't zoom, and there's bigger cameras like the MAKI that do have a big zoom, but they're not battery powered. They're not Wi-Fi. You can't just put them on a stick or attach them to a fence or something like that and get a shot. And this is like that, in that space in between, where it's like, I give you a little bit of this and I give you a little bit of that. All right. Another question comes in. What does the audio interface look like, and can you hook up external audio boards? I wonder if this is for the camera or the studio. We'll cover the studio part next week. Or
That's right.
In the next show.
We don't want to tease too much. Studio is really cool, and it ties everything together. The camera itself, I guess on the audio features, I'm going to try and come in close there. You can't even see it, but there's a little oh, there we go. The 2 little dots there. There's actually an array of microphones built into the MAKI Live. And this has got AI noise reduction and things in there as well. So it's actually got quite a decent microphone built into it. And you can adjust the level of noise reduction and things like that within it. Right now, that is the audio interface that's directly in the camera. If you wanted to do additional audio, that's where you would do that in your switcher. For example, you do that with MAKI Studio, or if you're using another switcher like vMix or TriCaster, of course, you can take microphones in from there, which might be lapels or something like that.
I'm sure it's going to come up in the questions. I'll throw it out there already. The USB-C, would that be is that a USB in or not at this time?
Right now, the USB-C does a bunch of things, but it doesn't do audio right now. And again, I'm conscious of the whole premise here is we're talking about what the product actually does rather than what we'd like it to do. So this is a fully functional USB port. I'll get into the features in a minute, but one of them here is our USB to Ethernet or PoE adapter as well. So that USB-C can convert the camera into a wired power over Ethernet camera. And you see it's got a nice little screw thread on there as well, so it can lock in. You can also use this as a web camera, so you can plug the USB-C straight into your laptop. So it's a multifunctional USB port. It even obviously charges the camera as well. We don't support audio interfaces going through that right now.
Okay, and this is going to be exactly where I think a lot of these cameras are going to find themselves. We do esports and currently use Marshall's, a well-known company making lots of small cameras. Due to flexibility, but also low light ability. Can you speak to how the MAKIs are in low light?
I can actually speak very well to that. The low light in this is actually quite incredible for the size. And depending on how we go with time, I'm happy to turn off the lights in here. It's Melbourne and it's 6:30 in the morning and it's still dark because it's coming into winter. But the low light's great on it. It actually has wide dynamic range in here as well, and you can adjust the intensity of that. And that works really well for when you've got it's a lot of black in your picture. You can bring up those blacks, but not oversaturate your whites as well or your highlights. So again, for the size, there's a caveat. It's not a huge sensor. It's not a 1-inch sensor or something like that, but for the size, it's really quite incredible. And I know, Anthony, you were doing a bit of, you commented to me the other day about the X1 being really quite good in low light. This actually does every bit as good, if not even a little bit better than that, with its wide dynamic range inside MAKI Live.
Interesting. Now, we talked about it being part of the BirdDog ecosystem. Are users going to have the same BirdDog web UI and configurability with this tiny little 3x camera as they do with any of the other cameras?
Yeah, so one thing when we were building this, we wanted it to span a number of different use cases. I think a lot of these small cameras, almost all of them actually, have got an app. And that makes sense for people that are just getting into things that don't necessarily need to really tweak a lot of settings. They just want to access it and kind of go live. So we've got an app, which is the MAKI Live app, and that's available on the App Store now for both Android and for iOS as well. But what we didn't want to do is just lock it down to being kind of a separate sidecar camera. We want this to be able to be used for walk-up starts for people that haven't done video production before, and the app's great for that. It's also great for configuring and updating firmware and things like that. But it's still got our full Bird UI. In fact, it's got the next generation of the Bird UI, which has even more functions and controls in there, which is a window into where things are going with our web UI as well. So you've got full control over the image settings, the network settings, how you handle all your NDI, network traffic and discovery servers and all that kind of stuff. It's a full BirdDog camera in a tiny little package.
Okay, so basically anyone who has BirdDog experience and BirdDog cameras, adopting this into your workflow, sprinkling them in wherever is going to be fairly seamless, because if you're already used to using the web interface and managing your cameras that way, it's going to be a drop-in replacement.
Yep, that's right. It's just part of the BirdDog family. Everything, all the naming conventions, the web UI, where all the functions are, everything's the same. So if you know how to use BirdDog, you know how to use MAKI Live too.
Oh. Golden Tea says, even shading?
Golden Tea is giving me a hard time this call. So again, if I look at the web UI right now, under cam control, it does not have the color matrix side of things. It does have the gamma control, so you can adjust your shadows and obviously your highlights and exposure settings. In terms of individual RGB CMY color adjustments, that's not in there right now. So.
All right. And he also gave you a thumbs up. Screw key lock is a must. Good job.
Very good. There's one tick.
And no, I think that's really important, because a lot of times people don't realize the importance of, especially with USB-C, it is such a tiny connector. Somebody bumps that the wrong way, you've got even just a heavy power cable hanging off of that thing. It's a lot of weight on a tiny connector. So having the ability to offset that torque with something that screws in and holds it in place is very, very important.
Look, it really is. And also we want it to be considered, and you can use it for permanent 24/7 installations. And you just can't do that if you can't lock that connector in there, because you don't want to put it up on a roof somewhere with a non-locking connector. And even just the vibrations of, a truss, or if you've got AC and stuff, eventually that's going to work itself loose. So.
Yeah, or a concert or something like that. Somebody's got a music venue and they want to put a couple of these around the room. All right, and I think we had a couple questions in here as well. Do I have to use the studio control surface? These are for the studio. Can I use only the iPad for MAKI Studio?
All right, so we'll jump in a little bit. We'll give you a little window into what is next week. But at the moment, and this is actually deliberate for us, MAKI Studio is tied to the control surface. So if you think of it, it's almost like the iPad is the multi-view or the window into the application. The control surface it's connected via Bluetooth. You just need to power it, and it'll connect wirelessly to the iPad. But it is one and the same. So if you want to use MAKI Studio, you do need to use the control surface.
And then I guess that begs the first question: do you have to use the control surface, or do you also use the touchscreen on the iPad?
Well, that's an interesting one. I'm wondering, I went straight to, do I need the control surface? But it's a great point. It does have on-screen controls as well. So, of course, if you wanted to, you can, for navigating to find a video to VT or something like that, you can use your touchscreen on the iPad. Of course you can. So you can run all of the functions on there. But, of course, with this, it gives you your live indicators when you're on air, what's on program, what's on preview, adding in overlays and things are all done by the hardware controllers.
Me personally, as a live switching producer, I'm excited about this, and it even sounds like it could potentially allow two people to work side by side. One person's managing content while somebody else is actually switching cameras.
Absolutely.
On the two different surfaces at the time. One person can do it, or they can, start divide and conquer there.
That's a great idea.
The next one is, how many cameras can the MAKI Studio manage?
So MAKI Studio can handle up to 9 cameras. However,
Wow.
there's a little asterisk there. We all know that iPads are in multiple generations. To do that, you'd want to be on the latest iPad with an M4 processor. And then you do want to consider what's going on with Wi-Fi as well. Now, iPads can run over Ethernet as well with docking stations and things. When you go beyond probably 3 or 4 cameras, you really do need to pretty heavily consider at least part of that being over a wired connection. Otherwise, you're sending a lot of frames over Wi-Fi to one device at that point. But from an actual application point of view, you can have up to 9 camera sources, plus titles, plus video playback, plus audio clips. And you can even have your camera on the iPad as an extra camera as well as a bonus one. So.
Oh, interesting. You're able to use the iPad camera in addition to everything else.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. And the last one we had here is, can the MAKI Live receive audio through the USB? See, that was the question. I knew this was going to be somewhere.
Yeah. Look, I think it was being circled around before. The answer is no, we can't. We're designed at the moment, the way the audio works within here is its built-in microphones are great. They've got AI-based noise reduction, and you can adjust the intensity of that to tune in as you like. It's an array of microphones, so it actually really does dial in on your voice. But if you wanted to use an external microphone, that's where you're tied in your switcher. So that could be MAKI Studio, or it could be another switcher if you wanted to add additional mics in.
Definitely. And I am just going to take this moment to remind everyone you can scan and win. If you haven't already, I do have entries over here. We are giving away a BirdDog Connect subscription so that you can distribute not just around the office, but much further around the world. I think Dan's entering on his phone right now.
I did, yes.
I'm sorry, employees are not allowed to win. Or if you are watching this on a mobile device, you can just type in bit.ly/BD entry for BirdDog entry. And that will take you to the form to fill out for the BirdDog Connect subscription, a chance to win. And I believe it's a year subscription as well. It's not just like a 30-day or 90-day. It's a whole year you get to use this. So
absolutely, and you're right, Anthony. I think we're stacking up what we need to do in these shows. So next week, I really want to dive into MAKI Studio, but I think after that we need to go to Connect. I've been writing up a whole bunch of training for BirdDog Connect, and it's a really deep and great application. So we really need to explore that as well.
It might even be a 2-parter.
Could be.
Alrighty, so I'm going to leave that up there a second. And I think another question that often comes up when we talk about these cameras, especially for sports, the MAKI Live, really does lend itself to being put behind a basket or, just an alternative view, sprinkling these things around. Indoors, not so much an issue, but outdoors, is there any sort of IP rating for this? Because I know BirdDog has actually in the past released an outdoor weather PTZ camera. And yes. So in terms of this little camera.
So we love outdoor cameras, absolutely. But for the moment, this is designed predominantly for an indoor camera use. So it can be used outdoors. It does a great job. It doesn't have a rain jacket, so to speak, there.
Okay. But it doesn't stop someone from building like a little cover over it. Because I know for other things that I do, the 3D community, 3D printing has solved so many problems. It's sort of like, hey, look, there's just clips on the top.
Absolutely, and you'll see here, it does have a couple of little vents in there, but there's no active cooling, so it doesn't have a fan or anything like that inside here. So it's very easy to enclose it if you wanted to. So.
Alrighty, and let me come back over to the questions in the thread. Is the HDMI out raw or straight from sensor, or is it the same as the NDI HX3? I guess my real question is it 10-bit 422, or is it already down converted to HX3?
Right, okay. So the way this guy works is it does have, and this is again a choice, it's got a full-size HDMI on the back. That was actually a design choice because for size constraints, it would have been easier to do a smaller connector. That HDMI goes straight off the sensor. So it goes through, if you look at, I'm not going to do camera signal paths too much, but you've got the sensor, then you've got the image signal processor. The image signal processor does all of our white balance and autofocus and all of that kind of stuff. So after that, it then splits. one part goes into NDI HX3 and the other part goes to the HDMI. So it doesn't go. So I think the question is here, does it go through compression? And it doesn't. It's the live output from the sensor. Yeah, obviously you do need to process that. We're not outputting a raw output from the sensor. We're taking that signal and turning it into video and then sending it straight out of HDMI. The HDMI output on this is HDMI uncompressed, but it is an 8-bit output in the way that it's actually set up. So it's an uncompressed HDMI output, but it's 8-bit, not 10-bit. I'm happy to argue offline about the need for this type of camera and 8-bit versus 10-bit versus computer graphics needing 10-bit and things as well. So.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree in terms of, event footage and things like that. We're not talking anything with a very smooth dither that's going to require 10-bit in order to be rendered properly. We're just talking, everyday footage in terms of like sports, basically. And sports doesn't necessarily require 10-bit in order to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Wayne,
and keeping in mind we have the gamma control as well, of wide dynamic range, so you can bring up your blacks and you can constrain your highlights and things. So some of those reasons why you might want a 10-bit image can be adjusted with that powerful image signal processor.
Wayne asked a question. The studio starts to sound like Switcher Studio version 2. I don't think you've ever used Switcher Studio. I've used it for years, but it's an iPad-based multi-camera live switching thing, and I think the fact that this is that the BirdDog Studio is based around NDI, which is something that is not really big on iPads. It's big on computers, but to bring this with an iPad and a control surface, I think that's a pretty big jump. But like you said, if I'm going to do it on the Mac in a Mac software, I'm going to be using the M4 chip.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do it on my iPad, guess what I'm using? An M4 chip.
That's right. So yeah, things are changing, and if you look at what the amount of power that you can get in an iPad, it's just in most cases so vastly underutilized in terms of a processor inside an iPad. And tying that in and using that with MAKI Studio, it's amazing what you can get out of it.
I use my iPad for web browsing, so I am just probably at the
it's
bottom
wonderful
end.
For web browsing. So.
It's very smooth. It's very, very smooth. Another question I thought might be, in terms of hardware people might have, if people don't have an M4 but they have an M2 or an M1, will there be like a matrix so they kind of know when they get it, oh, okay, I got the M1, I can do 3 cameras, or I got the
Absolutely.
M2.
So I've been actually, I gave you a little bit of a hint there. I've been working on a whole bunch of training for products. We're actually building out a certification set of tools for all of our products. And I've probably about 95% of the way through the MAKI Studio one. And with that, it absolutely does have the system requirements. Of course, that will drop onto the website as well. And that'll give you effectively the limitations or what you can expect depending on the type of processor you have. I should add that it certainly doesn't require an M4 processor. The iPad I use is a M1, but you can even use the older A series processors as well. It'll work with any of them. It just depends on what resolution. If you want to go to 4K, then you're going to need an M series processor. If you want to have a whole bunch of cameras, you're going to need an M series processor. But if you're happy with HD and you're happy to work with only a couple of cameras, you can use on an old iPad, no problems at all.
Interesting. And I think that's going to help a lot of people, especially in an area, let's just say a church. They can't necessarily go out and get the latest iPad to run something like this, where it's like they can start with whatever they have and build it into their workflow and add a couple cameras to it and say, okay, this is actually working for us. Now we can make the, step forward and upgrade the iPad so that we can do more. It's sort of like, slowly stepping forward one piece at a time.
Yeah, gotcha. Actually, I just saw a note here about there's lots of crackling on the audio. I'm not sure whether that's me or the other one, but I'm actually using my microphone in my MacBook, so if it's crackling, I don't know what's going on there.
You sound good to me.
Okay, good.
Wize says, good morning from Australia. Dan and I are the only ones awake. And yes, let me thank you, Dan, for getting up super early to do this show for everyone. I appreciate you taking the time.
Not a problem. I was actually laughing to myself when I went up to pick up the MAKI camera. You saw my newsreader outfit because I've got my BirdDog shirt on the top, but I don't have my full outfit on. So.
Well, remember we were talking about Golden TV holding your feet to the fire, but he's also complimenting you. Full HDMI size is another plus. I agree because so many products use minis and micros. I've hated the mini and micro since I've got my GH4s and they've got those teeny little connectors on the side. Yep. And even Panasonic realized it because as soon as they started to move that forward with the GH 5 and 6, it was like full size connector because that's what really it's more reliable, it's more robust, and
yep.
not having to use an adapter is key.
Absolutely, yeah.
Eric asks, is there any shipping to the Netherlands?
Yes, absolutely. We do ship to the Netherlands. We ship all over the world. We're just in the process of scaling up the shipping. They have already shipped, but it didn't meet the amount of orders that we've had already, which is frustrating, but also it's a great sign that there's people looking forward to getting this camera. Good news is that there's more cameras on the way, and I think by around about, I'm not going to say the end of this week because it's already Thursday where I live, but by next week we should have the next batch on the way as well. So over the next week or two, we should be able to clear out any back orders that are there, and then from there on in, it'll be available everywhere. But certainly shipping to the Netherlands, shipping pretty much to everywhere you like. So.
All right. Max Tash asks, what's the effective size of the MAKI Live at its widest angle?
That's a great question, which I'm going to have to answer in afterwards, which I promise you I'll get back to. And I'm happy to write in the comments here because I'll have a look. One thing I can say, and I didn't actually highlight this, but this is actually a MAKI Live that I'm using at the moment. And I'm touching it there. That's the front of the lens. So it's as far away from my arm. And I know I'm cut off here at the moment, but it's actually a very wide shot. So it's a really wide field of view. Effectively, my laptop screen, it's like it's sitting on the front of the laptop screen here in terms of the camera. So it's a really wide angle sensor, which is great.
Hey, is that the BirdDog camera software on the phone right there?
Yes, it is, yes.
Is that the MAKI Live camera?
Yep, I'm happy to go through it and show you if you like. So.
Oh, but you could zoom in.
I could, hang on, I don't have my zoom controls. Let's give it a go. India, I like this.
I apologize for putting you on the spot.
No, don't apologize at all. This is all good. So I should be on my camera here. Now I am on manual focus, which I like to do when I'm just having a locked off shot. So I've just changed it to auto. So let's just see. Here we go. So you can see there, I'm now entering into the digital zoom mode, but you can see the text there. It's actually, you can see now it's starting to get into that digital zoom, but that text is really very small. You can see by the size of my fingers. One thing that's
very
really
small,
cool, is the latency on here. It's a bit hard to tell with the way the shot's there, but it's extremely low latency, which is part of the cool thing with MAKI Live is actually how low that latency is.
Wow.
But even if you have a look there, just capturing screens is sometimes hard to do on cameras, but it's actually doing a great job of actually getting the details on that screen, the colors right as well.
Yes, and honestly, the fact that you're wearing a black shirt and a black on black hat, and then behind you on the wall, you have a bright light shining on the wall, and nothing looks, we can still see some detail in the hat, we can still see, and the wall is not completely just blown away, I think really speaks well to the fact that we're getting some good dynamic. It's handling hot brights and darks equally well.
Yeah, and I can go through and I can adjust it on the app as well. I'm actually just going to go into the setup here, and you can see there's a whole bunch of settings. I'm happy to share the screen to go through it in more detail, but in your even just in the app itself, we actually have a whole bunch of settings that we can adjust. In terms of our dynamic range and also the overall look and feel of the image as well, and sharpness and all that kind of stuff directly in the app. And then we've got even more control when you go into the web UI as well.
Awesome. We actually got a question that's not MAKI Live related. Why the name change for BirdDog Cloud to Connect?
That's a good question. I'm happy to answer that one. So BirdDog Cloud is our previous generation of software before we went to BirdDog Connect. The reason for the change is Cloud was released right about the time when cloud was actually a really cool terminology for most things. Let's put cloud in the name because it makes it sound high tech. Not to say it doesn't do cloud-based workflows. It's a bit like putting AI in things at the moment. The reality is that Connect does more than cloud-based workflows. So there was a bit of a misnomer, and it was almost turning people off. It's like, well, I don't need cloud, so why am I buying BirdDog Cloud? What I want is a media processing engine, or what I want is a post-production tool, or what I want is a multi-view processor that can record. Connect is all of these things. So it's not just a cloud connectivity piece. It's actually a whole lot more than that. So it's really about trying to explain a bit more what it does. And there's a whole lot more features now built into Connect as well. So it's got end-to-end routing globally. So you can take a video source from one location and actually put it directly onto a screen inside your building somewhere, all done through that Connect user interface. So it goes further than just those cloud connectivity points, which is why we wanted to kind of explain that a bit more with the name.
Exactly. I think that makes perfect sense. The Golden TV says, is that a tally light on the camera or just a power indicator? Can it be turned off or made not to turn on?
Yes, this is actually one of my favorite features, and I get it. Sometimes you don't want a tally light, and sometimes you do. I'm going to mess around with this in a minute, and I can go into full Vegas mode if you like. But effectively what this tally light is what we have on all of our new X series cameras. It's called the Halo tally, so it goes all the way around the lens. The reason for that is it draws talent's attention into the lens. Too often tally lights are above or below or to the side. With this, people are looking directly at the camera. Now, you can turn that off, so there's no tally light at all. If you're wanting to put that inside a truss or somewhere hidden, you don't need to have a tally light at all. When it's in standard mode, it'll go green when you're on preview in your production switcher. It'll go red when you're live. So it works like any camera you'd expect to do with tally lights. You can have it so it has a standby mode, which at this stage it's running white. You can sort of see down there, it's sort of a white color. It is actually quite bright in terms of the brightness of that. You can also choose to color code these as well. So that standby color, you can choose whatever you like. And we got this feedback from corporate productions where they might have a panel session and they can tell a panelist, just look at the purple camera or just look at the green camera, just look at the blue camera. And so you can actually color code this to any color you like. And it's actually got another little cool feature, which we call Vegas mode, which will just cycle through all the colors if you want to, which is great for trade shows. So effectively it's fully controllable. You can turn it completely off if you don't want it there at all. You can run it like a regular camera where it just goes red and green for program and preview, or you can go further with that. And we're interested to see where that goes. I think for hardcore or regular production, they're probably a little beyond what people need, but we've already got the feature there, so we might as well add it in. But I think for corporate production and some of these people that aren't necessarily doing or adhering to broadcast norms, there's additional features there which might actually be really useful for them.
And then even for broadcast, I like the fact that, I mean, you didn't mention it explicitly, but the halo light is actually visible from the side, even slightly behind, next to the camera, so that if you were standing next to it, you could still see which camera is on. Just by the fact that it's got a tally on the back.
Got a tally on the back as well, so that tally light mirrors the front. So even right at the very back, if you're sitting at the back of your hall or your theatre, you can still see which one's got the tally lights on.
All right. We had a comment. Wayne says the corner of the room is still straight, so there's no bubble effect when it's zoomed out, and we could bring that back in. So. Yeah, it doesn't become like this, like a GoPro or anything like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And Golden T says, it's for us, it's more the players that don't want to be distracted. But when wanting the tally, having it around the lens color code is really awesome. You get a gold star.
Excellent. We had a rough start, but I think we're getting there. So.
All right. Well, let me throw this up one more time. We got a couple entries. I'm on the wrong tab. Here we go. We have, for everyone who's here now, be sure to enter to win. You can scan the QR code. See, I put myself on this side this time so I could do this.
Yeah, I'm pointing as well. So.
You can scan this with your phone. That'll take you to the entry form. Or if you're using a mobile device to watch the show, which we already know someone is, you can type in bit.ly, which is a URL shortener, bit.ly/BD entry for BirdDog entry. So that will take you to an entry form where you can win a 1-year BirdDog Connect subscription. And as Dan just finished saying, it's for in studio, in office, in facility, and also cloud.
It's an awesome web camera as well. What I might do actually, just for a bit of fun, this camera here, I've had it turned on the whole time. As we spoke about, it's got we're saying 6 hours of battery life, but we've clocked it at over 8 hours in the office streaming the whole time. So they last a long time. But just to prove to you, I'm actually using the MAKI here. I'm actually just going to switch my camera. A little bit hard on my web streaming, but this should do it if I go here. There we go. So this is the MAKI Live that I was holding, and you can see there, I'm giving away a little bit of a secret because there's a white one, but this is my messy office. But you can see there, it's completely wireless. There's nothing else plugged in.
Very nice.
Yeah, so there we go.
So wireless Wi-Fi, and that actually brings up a good point that you had mentioned. You know, when you're throwing a lot of NDI around on the network, your network router, whatever you're using for Wi-Fi, and your switch, those are all very critical. So in addition to understanding that, you know, your computer has to be, you know, your iPad is going to be need to be of a certain level to handle a lot of sources. Your entire infrastructure is going to need to be. And I know this from a fact in my office where I used to use a Google Wi-Fi puck, but then I know once I get past 2 NDI signals, I start to drop frames. And I changed internet providers, and they gave me an Eero Pro 6. You know, this, I don't know, it's like the super, you know, nice thing. It's several $100s. It doesn't do streaming media well at all. You know, as long as I keep it down at like 30, 20, 10 megabits, it's okay. But once you start pushing like NDI at like 80 or 100 or 4K over 100, I'm dropping frames. And that's just like with one camera. So I upgraded to, and I did a show on this, an Asus ROG, Republic of Gamers, just this massive thing with the glowy red and everything. But it's got 2.5 gigabit, and it's designed to throw data like nobody's business.
I know there's actually some work that Netgear are doing on this as well. Obviously, Netgear are right into the AV over IP side of things.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great friends of us and great friends of NDI in general. And we're working with them because we've now got a range of wireless cameras. So we're working with them on a Pro series and how we can actually set profiles within these Wi-Fi routers as well. Because it is going to be, it's a point of consideration. It's like anything AV over IP. You're only as good as your network. And now we're taking that network into the wireless side of things. You just need to be careful and make sure that it actually works as you'd expect it to, and that you've got the right equipment to do that. One thing, I don't know whether this is a true theory or not, but I feel like Wi-Fi routers last for about 18 months and then the performance just starts to really drop off. And I don't know whether that's just because there's more streaming and we just consume more over that time. But for me, even at home, I tend to have to upgrade my Wi-Fi router every 18 months or so to kind of get it to perform how I'd expect.
Yeah, we just have more and more things that are always just jumping on the network, you know, phones, watches now, and things like that. It's just, you know, it can kind of get a little excessive in terms of everything that these wireless devices are expected to be able to serve instantly.
Yes, that's right. And now we want it with no latency at all. So we're sending high bandwidth and effectively zero latency. So.
Yes, and like you says, you know, you can use the MAKI Live with the Ethernet adapter and keep everything on a wire. And, you know, that is the most, I always say a wire is the most reliable thing. But, you know, going Wi-Fi really does empower people to get creative with camera placement and simplicity and speed. And so I think, you know, Netgear, maybe they've got the AV line, but those are all wired. So I think they're going to need to come out with an access point that is designed to handle, a bunch of
I can't
bandwidth.
speak to their product, but I do know that they're very interested in this Wi-Fi based video production space. So.
As well they should be, because I think it's only going to grow. I really do.
Absolutely.
So let me say thank you to you. We'll do this giveaway, and I appreciate you getting up at the crack of dawn early in the morning before even the sun is up in Australia. So thank you.
It's just coming up now. So.
Thank you to Dan for being here so early in the morning so that we could reach everybody from Europe all the way across. Thank you for showing us the MAKI Live and giving us that side-by-side that really does show how tiny this thing is, especially when you figure there's a Wi-Fi system in there, there's battery power in there, and it's an optical zoom in there, and it's that small. So I think it's just super impressive that all of that technology has been crammed into such a small little tube cylinder. I don't know what you call it. It's square, but it's rounded.
I don't know whether we've spoken about this. I know we're doing a wrap up, but the reason why it's called a maki is a sushi roll. The maki rolls that you get when you're in the shopping mall. It's basically that size, and it looks pretty similar. So.
There you go. Now it even more resembles the maki. All righty. Well, thank you, Dan. I am going to let you go and bid you adieu. You can get started on your Thursday. It's still Wednesday here for me in Dallas, Texas. And thank you to everyone who has tuned into the show. Again, one more time, you can indeed, if you haven't already entered the contest, you can use the bit.ly/BirdDog entry, and you have a chance to win BirdDog Connect 1-year subscription. Or you can just scan the QR code with a mobile device, and that will take you right there. And let's see. Fritz Goldman says, I love my little MAKI. And Fritz is watching in Chicago. So thank you for tuning in as well. Last few minutes, I'm just going to leave this up here for a second. Give anyone who may have dropped in this last minute or so to be able to fill out that form and enter to win the BirdDog Connect subscription. And I will take this off the screen. And then we will continue on. And I'm just going to do this in front of you. Look at this. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people entered. I'm going to collect all 5 names. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go over to the wheel of names, which is for the BirdDog Connect contest. I'm going to replace those names with our 5 entrants. And I am going to spin the wheel of names to see who is the winner. Looks like it's Marcellus Wesley will be the winner, and I will pass your information on to BirdDog so that they will be able to reach out to you and get you set up with BirdDog Connect for an entire year. Thank you again to everyone who has joined me for today's show. The next show will be very impressive. We touched on it today. We talked a little bit about the new BirdDog Live Connect Studio, the control surface, the app. We're going to dive in. I know nobody's seen the app doing everything that it does just yet, but the next show, that's what the plan is for the next show. And I hope to bring this to you and really answer a lot of questions, because even today, people were asking questions about the studio. And we had questions on the camera, but the studio obviously has a lot of interest, and that's what we hope to be able to fulfill with the next show. With that, I'm going to say thank you all for coming, and I will look forward to seeing you next